You are here. Good. You had asked me to give a brief explanation on the program which I had sent to the Congress in 1808 at their request to discuss the internal improvements for the United States. To give a little bit of history, when I was in the 4th, 5th, and 6th Congresses serving with, at first, then Representative Madison and then Mr. Jefferson, who would frequently discuss with me financial issues. One of the issues which they brought up was the settlement of and elimination of the national debt. When President Jefferson was elected in 1801 and appointed me in May of 1801 as a recess appointment as his Secretary of the Treasury, he made it very clear to me that his first goal financially was to eliminate the debt of the United States, which at that time stood at $82 million. In order for such a program to be successful, we had first to eliminate the excessive expenditures within the federal government. By reducing the Army and the Navy in size, it would be possible to reduce some of the costs incidental to that. That, of course, required that we have peace. In addition, we would also seek to eliminate the internal taxes, the excises, which had been the cause of such unfortunate incidents as the Whiskey Rebellion in the first part of the 1790s. I presented him with a program that, if followed, and if there was in fact frugality within the federal government, as well as a maintenance of peace, we should be able to eliminate the debt in the course of 17 years. Of course, at the time, we did not expect that we would also purchase the Louisiana Territory, which added $15 million to our cost. Nonetheless, with a little bit of management, we found that we would be able to do so with an additional 18 months. So it would take approximately 18 and a half years to eliminate the national debt. However, our internal peace was threatened by external forces, such as England and France in their perpetual war in Europe. And so at this point, we found ourselves having to engage in an embargo, a self-imposed embargo, to eliminate the possibility of the British continuing to impress our sailors, as well as to make it less likely for the French to turn around and seize our ships. Nonetheless, the Congress, in a moment of sanguinity, believed that it was entirely possible to anticipate the elimination of the national debt, and by so doing, to ask for how we could use the monies which we would get, the income of the United States, for the benefit of the United States. I proposed then a program of internal development and transportation improvements, which would make it possible for the United States to become far wealthier and far more prosperous. Very simply, the program is in 3 parts. It is first to create a series of canals, 4 canals, no longer than 26 miles apiece, which would cut across certain parts of the eastern coast at Massachusetts, in New Jersey, across from the Delaware to the Chesapeake, and finally from Norfolk to the Albemarle Sound. This would allow coastal shipping to go from north to south, south to north, and it would be within safe grounds. The second part of the program would be to improve the rivers which debouch onto the Atlantic coastline, most particularly the James, the Kanawha, the James, the Santee, the Potomac, and several others. This would be a program of improving beyond the fall line, which is at approximately 120 miles on average from the coast, by building a series of canals and locks which would permit us to move goods past the fall line and deeper into the interior. The third part of this, which is very, very important, is the development of permanent roads across the Appalachian Mountains, so that goods which are coming from the western side of the mountains over to the east, and goods going as well from the east, from the seacoast over to the west, could in fact happen with no difficulties. This, it must be said, was part of the cause for the so-called Whiskey Rebellion in the 1790s, because the farmers in western Pennsylvania found it difficult to get their grain to market, as there were no developed roads across the mountains in that part of Pennsylvania. Therefore, they had to create whiskey from the grain. The next thing that we knew, the excise, the people who were looking for the excise taxes would come to western Pennsylvania, and this was the cause of much of the difficulty. There is a further objective in proposing such a program. It is not simply for the prosperity of the United States, but it is also, in a sense, to help link the eastern coast with the western part of now our much expanded republic. In history, it has been shown that the republics are frequently only successful if they are very small in physical size. We have a country that is far larger than anything which has ever been attempted in the past. And so anything which can help us to link the East and the West, the farthermost parts, and now, of course, our farthermost part extends beyond the Mississippi River. These are programs which we would look to encourage in whatever way. It does not appear at the moment, in 1811, that we are going to be able to do this by means of the federal government. However, we hope that by making this program known to the various parts of the nation, that perhaps private interests, perhaps even the state interests, will take this up. There is always the danger of corruption. This is true. However, it may very well be that in spite of whatever corruption would occur, this will be a very good program. And now you'll forgive me. I am very, very late to go and speak with the president, and I really must be off. It would be a great discourtesy to call any later than I am. Thank you.